Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for To Your Eternity, chapter 150.5. When we last left our heroes, Fushi dealt with him making his sort of demand to his friends of never dying in the healthiest way he knows how, by running the fuck away, and he happens to go to the beach where he was a sea turtle, and found that the eggs he laid had hatched, and now Fushi is a mom of like 20 sea turtle children, and he decides to let them go. There's this moment of like clear parallelism of him letting his sea turtles go to the ocean, and him letting his friends die in the distant future. And Fushi, at least on the surface, seems to all of a sudden have this like shift where he's now A-okay with the passage of time. He's like a bit more, you know, accepting of his humanity, I guess. He's like dyed his hair black. He's doing well in school, and he gives Gugu tickets to Taknaha. Now, I'm almost certain that on some level this is him being deeply unhealthy, and we'll find that out eventually. But for now, he's getting along with people. There is a moment, though, of Echo checking in on him when he's sleeping, and she sees the rope is still attached to his wrist, connecting him across the world. But yeah, that's sort of where we leave off, with him giving these tickets to Gugu. So let's dive right on into Chapter 150.5, Independence Part 2. And we open right where we left off, with Gugu looking at it. A ticket to Taknaha? Huh? Out of nowhere like this? Where'd it come from? And Fushi tells him, I worked and bought it, leaving an empty shell here so I could do it in secret. Oh, so maybe that's what Echo saw. He was sleeping that day, but he was actually working. I got a job at a restaurant, and we see him cooking. His manager looks on, you're good to be so young. And Gugu is just like literally blown back by it. You got a part-time job? Seriously? For me? And Fushi just tells him, yep, why don't you go this spring break? I'm curious though if that's kind of, if Fushi means to say it's okay for you to leave full-time, because that's how Fushi initially understood Gugu's desire to return to Taknaha, or if the sort of unstated meaning here is, I'm hoping that you come back, or something. I don't know. Anyway, Gugu sort of like rubs his head. Ooh, seriously, Fushi? Way to go. Thank you. I'm so happy right now. And then he runs off. Uh-oh, I don't have time to waste. I gotta go pack. So, how close are they to spring break? Because Fushi says, why don't you go during spring break? And then Gugu is immediately like, oh, I gotta go pack now. Is it spring already? Like we know it's been 6 months since the start of the present arc, but I'm still kind of unclear on when exactly we are. Anyway, Gugu's just in full-on packing mode. Can we use our plugs with one of their power strips? Or, oh, what about a smartphone, Fushi? No. Buy one. And do you have a life jacket? I'll lend you one of mine if you want. And Fushi tries to stop him. No, oh, right, you don't need to pack anything. Are you just going to head over and wait for me there? And then Gugu just tells him, I'm not going. And Gugu sort of stops there. And the idea of their separation, especially after their kind of reconciliation, was all around this idea of Gugu staying here forever. Ban and Kazumitsu helped me get permission from the school, because I want you to live there as long as you like. So, like, again, it seems like Fushi is saying, I'm okay with you leaving. But given that we have not seen any of that development at all, and all of Fushi's character for the past several months now has been pointing in the exact opposite direction, I'm less trusting of this than I think Fushi would want me to be. But anyway, Gugu kind of stops. Oh, that's what this is about? And Gugu pauses for a sec before going on. You aren't forcing yourself, are you, Fushi? You sure you won't start bawling like a little baby because you miss me so bad? I fucking might if I were in Fushi's shoes. But Fushi counters, I won't. I mean it. And Gugu kind of, we can see like the slightest smile through his bangs. And then we see it's spring. It's graduation season. So yeah, apparently we were really close to that. Wow, senpai, don't graduate. Please stay single, okay? I think this must be Gugu's high school, I think. And yet we see Hairo is graduated. Congratulations on graduating. And everyone kind of takes a picture of, so the senpai they were talking about was all Hairo. And the gang all sort of waves at Hairo. Fushi seems to have his white hair again, though. There. Of the right side of that panel on page 4. But Gugu sort of teases Hairo. If the girls love you that much, I bet you don't want to leave. And Hairo responds, well, it was an interesting place for me. But I'll be much sadder when you leave, Gugu. I wish we got to see some of their budding high school bromance. I wish we got that. But then Gugu kind of goes on, whoa, cut that out. I'm not good with that sappy stuff. Coming back once a year, though, right? Okay, so Gugu seems to be working on the assumption that he will be gone for good, even if he, like, occasionally comes back. Which, again, I'm really curious how Fushi will handle that once the reality of that situation steps in. Is he going to, like, convince himself that he's all right and then break down at some point? Almost certainly. The only question is how long that will take. Anyway, March kind of protests. But I'll miss you so much. Let's make it once a week. Okay, Gu-chan? And Tonari laughs. That would be a little difficult, March. You think so? And Gugu, who's like, during this party of like all the immortals and like Bond's organization, is like lifting weights the whole time. Well, I'll make sure I can come back whenever I need to. And then Hairo is apparently serving the drinks at like his own graduation party. Does anyone need more tea? And then Hanna and the Occult Club swing by. Yoo-hoo, Yuki-kun, we drop by, and the other two bow. Hello. And Yuki goes to greet them. Welcome, my Occult Club friends. And then one of the members looks around. So this is your place, huh, Vice President? And then Hanna walks over to Kazumitsu. Nice to meet you, sir. My name is Hanna. And then the other member says, what a lovely home you have here, sir. And then Hanna comes over with Tonari. Phew! I'm so glad the flowers blossoming and spring break overlapped. And Tonari calls her over. Yeah, I know. Oh, come and sit with us. Have we seen Tonari and Hanna really interacting? I know she's interacted with the Fushi. Even just last chapter, we saw Fushi sort of, integrating himself into the Occult Club. But I don't know if Tonari was there for that. She might have been. Anyway, Hanna comes over. Don't mind if I do. And she spots March. What are you making there? And March kind of looks up, kind of nervous at this adult in March's view, approaching her. Dumplings? And Hanna gets kind of excited. Chomp chomp! They're delicious! You're good at making dumplings, aren't you? And March kind of looks at Hanna kind of questioningly, and Hanna asks, what's the matter? And March reaches behind her back and pulls out one of the stuffed crabs from the very beginning of this series. This is my youngest, Kanitaro. And Hanna grabs it. Wow, what a big crab boy. Did you raise him? Yep, I'm his mommy. And Hanna comes over. You're the mommy? Then can I be the daddy? And March lights up. And so I will say, I saw glimpses of this scene on Facebook earlier today, I think, on the To Your Eternity Immortal posting group. And I did see the kind of theory from this that Hanna might be a reincarnation of Perona. And, like, so far, there's not much there to it beyond just having the same sort of interaction with March, which might just be a coincidence. But it's not impossible. Kyoran can be reincarnated as a horse. Maybe Perona also kind of didn't want to stay in paradise and wanted to instead come back to Fushi somehow. Maybe. I mean, I guess that Fushi wouldn't have really been around when Hanna was born. He was still in the sort of deep sleep. So maybe that doesn't quite work. But it's definitely an interesting thought. Anyway, March just grabs Hanna. Of course! Come on, let's make a house over here. And then we see the two Occult Club guys come over to Gugu. You're Gugu-san, aren't you? We heard about you from the Vice President. Can you really breathe fire? And Gugu decides to show them, puts his mask on and breathes some fire for them. Oh, can I have your autograph? And then, I think this might still be March. Hana-chan, over here! And March tells her, slow down a little. And then we see Fushi and Fushi and Yuki sort of chilling on the porch. Fushi again, back in his white hair for some reason. I'm not quite sure like why he changed back all of a sudden, what it's supposed to mean exactly. Anyway, Yuki sighs, I wish Mizuha-senpai were here too, but she hasn't been to school lately either. And Fushi thinks, yeah. And then Messar walks out, so, sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. Which is not really what you want to be saying from Mizuha right now, but okay. Shocking Yuki and Fushi, and then Messar looks down at them, huh? I was just talking about Gugu. Right, okay, Messar. And Yuki's just like, yeah. Kai walks over, come on, Messar. You haven't learned your manners when it comes to smoking. Use this before Kazumitsu yells at you. Oh, he has a cigarette in his mouth, I missed that. And Kai hands him an ashtray. And Messar is just, what is it, an ashtray? Yes. Did you make it? Yes, it's a gift. And Messar says, ugh, what do you mean by that ugh? I plan to eventually work as an apprentice to a blacksmith, but for now I'm making these sorts of things instead of swords. And Yuki cheers him on, you can do it, Kai-san. And Messar looks away, oh, right. So here's a question, though. Are there still blacksmiths in modern Yanome? Is that still a thing? Like, would he be able to make swords with a... I mean, I guess swords have to come from somewhere, I guess, and there are still swords being made. Just you don't really hear people talking about blacksmithing in the modern day. Anyway, we see Gugu now with a new baseball cap. Huh? You're giving this to me? Thanks, Messar. And Hairo kind of teases Messar. Isn't that nice? And Messar just tells him, I've got something for you too, Hairo. And it's a bike. What? You got me a bicycle? Yeah, didn't you want one? And Bon walks over. How kind of you, Messar. And Messar tries to kind of play it off. I just happened to hit it big at the track, and I just happened to feel like it. And we see Fushi. I was about to make a comment, or planning to make a comment after the video, literally at that panel, just before this Fushi one. I was planning to say something about oh, this is much lighter than what we've been getting. Maybe it's hiding something with Fushi's deep fear of letting go of people. And now we have this Fushi panel. As everyone's kind of going about the life of the party, yay, yay, eek, eek, ha, 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 kind of having fun. And Fushi just sits there with that placid look on his face, not showing any emotion whatsoever. And then we see what appears to be Gugu and Fushi at the airport. You didn't have to see me off. You should have just stayed home and took it easy. But Fushi tells him, no, I couldn't do that. And we see they stop by a store on the way to the gate. Oh, have you tried these? No. They're good. Get Bon to buy you some sometime. Okay. Fushi's being very he's not talking a lot. Gugu's talking so much here, and Fushi's just very short answers. Anyway, Gugu says, well, if I got any money, I could have bought you plenty of stuff right now. And looking at it that way, I haven't done much big brotherly stuff for you. Gugu tries to brush that off. It's fine. And then Gugu stops. Okay. This is far enough, Fushi. Yeah. Even after we go our separate ways. One day, we'll see each other again, won't we? And it has that different font, showing just how important this line is. And Fushi looks at him, yeah. And Gugu just plays off that kind of solemn moment with big slapstick. Why even ask though, right? You can get to talk Naha in under 10 seconds, can't you, Fushi? And then Gugu sort of calms down. Well, jokes aside, come visit me whenever you want. And Fushi tells him, yeah, but I'll do my best to stick it out. I get the feeling that'd be for the best. And Gugu nods, yeah. Okay, I'll be rooting for you from there in Taknaha. See ya! Tell me when you buy a smartphone. And Fushi sort of waves, okay, I'll buy one soon. And then the plane takes off. And we see what looks to be text messages. Maybe Fushi does have a smartphone. By the way, I don't know how these planes fly. I could never ride one. You're not scared, Gugu? And then, it seems he has gotten that phone. Because Gugu responds, yeah, but I've gotten used to this stuff. There's no telling what kind of vehicles people will come up with in 100 or 1,000 years. We've got to keep up with civilization. You and me both. And we see Fushi sort of laughing as he reads the text as the chapter ends. Which, I think there's an important bit there of Gugu stating, we have to keep up with civilization, implying that for Gugu at least, he plans to stick it out with Fushi forever. At least for right now, forever. He plans to stick it out with Fushi until the very end. he plans to be here for another 100 or 1,000 years, however long he can be, which, as for all we know, is eternity, given Fushi's powers. But yeah, let's talk this chapter. It's much lighter than the past chapters, which, given like I'm confident there's something we're not seeing, something very important that we are not seeing. Fushi, the way that Fushi has just changed on a dime midway through last chapter, it feels like he's trying. Like he's very much trying to be okay with letting everyone go. And I'm very certain at some point that's all going to fall apart, because that doesn't actually make him okay. He's going to act okay, because I think on some level, Fushi thinks that's how he should act. But that doesn't really deal with the problem at all. And at some point, we kind of start to see it, I think, at the bottom of page 9. That whole facade of being okay with the passage of time is going to crack. I don't know when, but knowing this series, it will be incredibly emotionally wrought. You know, the worst possible time for it to happen. Fushi will just be so tired of people leaving him, of life going on, that he won't be able to handle it. And I don't know when that will happen, how that will happen, what the ramifications of that will be going forward. But I am very confident that it will happen at some point. I am not so sure Fushi is okay with what's going on. Especially not as much as he pretends to be. Anyway, meanwhile, Hairo's graduated high school, so he's going to be going off to see the world at some point. Not quite yet, because it's Gugu's goodbye party today. But I don't think Hairo's plans have changed. I think he still wants to kind of go out and see the world, do the things he's wanted to do ever since he got to the present era. But that'll be something to keep an eye out for. Then, speaking of things to keep an eye out for, we get Hanna and March. All very interesting. Also, actually, now that I think about it, going back to that Hanna-Perona connection, that makes a new sort of awkward triangle, echoing the Hayase, March, and Perona triangle of the Spirit Bear arc, with a new Mizuha, March, Hanna. Which, I don't know, I'm curious what all that means. If Hanna is a reincarnation of Perona, her current connection with the successor of Hayase, that's not a coincidence. That's going to come up somehow, given that Hayase is the one who sort of murdered her possible reincarnation. But for now, Hanna and March are kind of this happy duo. I like it. It's the same kind of, again, vibe that she had with Perona. It's very cute. It's a lot of fun. I'm sure it will not end in tragedy at all, Oima. Am I right? I'm wrong. It's definitely going to end badly. I just can't wait to see how. But then, yeah, beyond that, it's sort of Fushi and Gugu saying goodbye. Fushi, going on to the point... Let me back up. Let me start that sentence better. Going on with my argument that Fushi is not nearly as okay with people leaving as he's pretending to be, pay attention to his very short answers. Gugu is going on this whole, paragraphs of not quite paragraphs, but, full-on, super long sentences. And Fushi's like, no, I couldn't do that, is his longest response on page 10. Then it's, no, okay, it's fine, okay, yeah. He eventually starts talking at some length on the top of 11. When he finally says, yeah, but I'll do my best to stick it out, I get the feeling that'd be for the best. But he's still having these very short answers. Also, he doesn't know it'd be for the best. He just has this idea that letting Gugu go is for the best. Where that comes from might just be the fact that his prior strategy of not letting anyone go didn't exactly, or looked like it was about to end very poorly, and so he just sort of changes tack before it can all fall apart. I hope I'm not rambling too hard. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit hard, but I think I'm making sense here. And so he's trying to say, Gugu, you can go, and I'll manage, right? But yeah, that's kind of where we leave off, with Fushi sort of content in this idea that Gugu plans to be with him forever. And I don't think that's sort of the resolution to Fushi's arc in this sense in any way. It's definitely going to come back again. It's definitely going to be extra painful next time. But for now, it's a relatively happy note. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter, the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. You know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!